Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one ring that we rule them all. Hope you'll remember your towel. Get your Ulu feathers and your needler guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword plus one. Use Valerian steel if it will get you to come. To the pit tank. To the pit tank. The Rocky Mountain pit tank.
Hi, I'm Troy,
Hi, I'm Alex.
and this is Geek Tank, your once again absent guy-sized podcast, or my alternate one was going to be a bucket full of f-bombs sized podcast. Had Guy been here, but he's not here, which is funny because I think it was either just last night or no, it was just Saturday night. I said, Guy, are you going to be on the show Monday night? And he said, yeah, I'll be there, because I was going to invite another friend of ours onto the show. Was he not going to be here? And he's like, no, I'll be there. But no clue. He might be sleeping for all I know. But yeah, and I don't want to bother our friend Dan and like, quick, get on our show last minute.
I'm sure you have nothing better to do.
That's right. Like exploring the wastelands of Fallout. So yeah, I had already prepped up on the description for this show that we were going to talk about cursing and such, and bad language, because that was a topic I kind of wanted to explore. Let's see, potential language, and let's see, that'll work. I'm going to post this, and then if I do that, then people looking will see that, and maybe they won't let their kids watch or something. I don't know. But yeah, gosh, brain fart. So I noticed several years ago, before we'd even started this podcast, while hanging out, it was either at like a Target or a Walmart or someplace like that, or actually it could have even been like a King Supers. I think it was a King Supers now that I think about it. But right on the other side of me, a couple was looking for some stuff. And I will read this out loud. I just realized in case for some reason someone's listening to this and they're not reading. We are now Geek Tank After Hours, Geek Tank at Night. So we are steering away from our PG rating a bit, and we will potentially be having various foul languages and are no longer counting our F-bombs to just one restriction.
Oh, we're going past PG-13.
Yeah, we're going past PG-13, and I was hoping to get Guy's input in on this because I haven't really cleared this through him yet. So he may want to backpedal, and we'll have to retcon this, and he can go back through here and edit it and put in the bleeps.
Well, one F-bomb gets us PG-13. More than that gets us
more
R.
than that gets us R.
But just sort of like we can still make things really nasty without swearing. Instead of yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, you can say yippee-ki-yay, mother liquor.
Right. It's funny, and then if you take the you could say God, and you could say damn, but if you put them together, they get the God part gets bleeped out.
Damn God.
Right. So, but in any case, I was standing there and I heard someone on the other side, like pseudo angry, not like clearly not like they're in full rage, but just a bit peeved. Go, I can't find the fucking cereal, and I'm standing there thinking, was that necessary? Is it that disturbing that you can't find the cereal that you had to throw that in? And that's when it started to dawn on me that it's just a flavor word now to people. It no longer holds an importance of urgency or danger or pain. It's just there to be there. It
is a very versatile word.
It is one of the most.
So I to counterpoint.
Yes.
I am a military brat. I was raised by a sailor.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much all of the 90% of all the swear words I knew by the time I was 8. They're all flavor words.
Right.
And my daughter is being raised by the son of a sailor, so we taught her very early on of when it's appropriate to swear.
Yep. I've noticed that I'm hearing more of it from my kids. I've got twin 12-year-olds turning 13 soon, and a 17-year-old. Or I'm sorry, 16 going on 17, and Weirdly enough, one of the 12-year-olds curses more than the other two, the older kid of that, and I believe it's because he watches way more YouTube, and he gets a lot of his the people he watches dabble in that quite often. And hearing him say that, I went to him. I said, "Look, if it's just me, I don't care. It's as long as it's not being denigrating to a race or a gender or that kind of thing, I don't mind. But you need to be able to control it, because if you just slip into the habit of it, you're going to say the wrong thing in the wrong crowd, and it can affect you in a negative way. And it's hard to get a 12 then into a 12-year-old's mind, I think. So where the hell's Guy? All right,
We're in charge now.
we are. I'm gonna tell him we started without him.
He like, I don't want to bug him. Proceeds to bug him.
Yep. So yeah, that's and then we brought on oh, here we go. So Brent. Well, that was a good response. Yeah, if the person just throws it right back at you. Of course, my favorite thing now after the Avengers is just to say what Captain America says and just say language, you know. But yeah, I think it's one of those things that it has the rating system has adapted over the years, and therefore because it's become more laxed in the rating system for movies and TV shows, I think society is reflecting that as well. I remember back when the Blues Brothers first came out, it was rated R, and it has since been downgraded to PG-13. But it's because there's not really a lot of grotesque violence in it, and I don't think there's a ton of F-bombs in it, but
Yeah, there's not, and it's yeah. I mean this is very similar to like how comedy itself is always moving, or like the Overton window, what is acceptable discourse
mhm.
politically, that's always moving. So that just seems to be, yeah. Blues Brothers, terribly subversive in 1981.
Yep. It's okay. I actually got the list right here. 9 uses of the word fuck, 25 uses of shit, and many uses of hell and damn, respectively.
Yep, yep.
So Brent's all over the place. It's a multiverse.
Whoa, he's making sure we get all the engagement.
Yep. But I remembered for me when I started really getting into improv and performing on stage, because improv there's no script, and if just cursing's part of your normal process of thinking when doing improv, it's going to come out, and so you have to guide that. And since we were getting shows at places with kids and such, it was a matter of getting a really good control over that. And I never had anything slip in front of anybody that wasn't supposed to slip in an improv show type thing. But I think that's when I became a lot more conscious of it. And then I've noticed my own ebb and flow would be with the media, like watching Reservoir Dogs. I just my filter was gone entirely after that for a while.
Right. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I just sort of I don't know. Like I said, I'm a sailor's son. I swear a lot.
Mhm.
And like the thing is that like if I hear other people swearing a lot, I think they're trying too hard. But for myself, I'm like F-bomb, C word, whatever. It's like
Mhm.
calling things goat felching cock goblins. I'm like, shh. Where's the goddamn cock gobbling freezers? God damn it!
I liked cockmonger. It was a good one.
Right. It's a pimp for man whores. There you go. The cockmonger.
Man, guy's missing out on all the fun. Too bad for him.
Oh well. Womp womp.
Womp womp. I had opened up a thing here. Here it is. Yeah, if you look up different studies, they'll show you that there's clearly people who have been studying this. There's been a upswing in language and such, and it's because like normal mainstream television, not even cable television, they started having more language come out and it be the norm. And it really does come down to who are you hurting with it.
Yeah.
And there's definitely some areas that you should not explore in, but the old standard stuff, why not?
Yeah.
And that's our show.
Well, we seem to have exhausted our topic for this evening.
Alrighty. Let's see, I was trying to think. I remember as a kid, I'm pretty sure I have not told this story because we were not an After Dark show. But I remembered as a kid, my brother telling me dirty jokes and me not getting it at all.
Oh gosh.
Because I just didn't know what the hell he
Yep.
was saying. And he was telling 69 jokes. And to me, they were math jokes because I had no concept of what he was referring to. But I think he thought I knew since I was laughing. But I was laughing because I was being a polite kid. Come dinner time, sitting there with my mom and my brother and one of his friends. And I go, hey, let me tell you a joke. And my brother is not fast enough to stop me. And I say, what's 6.9? And it's just dead silence. And I went, 69 interrupted by a period. And to me, it's a math joke. There's nothing wrong or gross about it at all. My mom freaks out. My brother just exits stage left as quickly.
Brother's like, I don't know where he heard that.
Oh, who knew?
What a bad child you have.
But yeah, that entire run of jokes that he had fed me as a kid served me well in high school. I was quite the comedian.
What? No way.
I know, no way.
No way. Not Troy.
Not me. No. But recently one of my kiddos has been interested in binge watching Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's getting a lot more of inundated by the language being used in that. So I'm not going to be surprised if he starts throwing out more words.
Yeah. Cool.
Let's see. But I think Guy and I started to notice the thing too, because when we brought in Chelsea into the podcast, because she's much younger than us, was one of those people who did the sailor kind of talking. Mm-hmm. And just especially when talking about like Ubisoft and that or EA games.
Guy texted, says that he says he's on his way. He also said crap. Oh my god,
crap. He's out. Well, and then we could get Guys and put on this. Yeah, unfortunately I did not plan where I was going to go with this much. The evolution of it. There's a show I want to watch on Netflix now. The host is Nicolas Cage, and it's about the evolution of, the origins of curse words, which seems pretty fun.
That's cool.
And I can quickly look up what it's called. History of swear words. Go figure.
Succinct.
Yep.
To the point. Descriptive.
Let's see, but studying comedy too. This is another angle. Is I noticed when watching comedy routines, there are some comedians who would try to emulate like Richard Pryor or Eddie Murphy, and they would throw in the words to try to get the laugh from the words. Whereas when you watch Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor or Robin Williams for that matter, they have a much more crafted way of when they throw in their swear words. But it's one of those things that's easy to spot when it's done wrong, but it's hard to define when it's done right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
I think that's kind of like what you were saying, like when other people do it and then they I guess I have to let him in. No, I'm going to let him let himself in because then if I click it, it's going to. There we go. Whoop. Hey, you.
Yeah, family.
Yep. Okay. So you weren't here earlier, but
No,
we are
warning for non-safe for language.
Because we're after dark, motherfucker.
I see.
something that on this show we were going to run past you, or I was going to run past you, I should say. About about dropping our PG rating for a while now that we're after dark and see what happens with that.
What is in our logo?
It's like an elf.
Why do we have an elf in our logo?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's a ghost. Ghost elf.
Why do we have a ghost elf in our
I'm not the one who made the logo.
What if I do it that way?
Oh, no ghost elf.
And if I do it that way, there's
Ghost
the
elf.
So that's from the Facebook one, and that's from the Twitter one. And now it's black and white, and that's from the Twitch one. I don't know why there's a ghost elf one there.
I was
Ghost
saying,
elf is judging you.
I did most of the logos on this, so I mean, I recognize the black and white one.
I'm going to.
What?
Oh, there is it never got changed back. I did this for Dia de los Muertos.
Muertos.
Muertos. It's a sugar skull. It's not an elf. It's a sugar skull.
It's like an elf.
Yeah. Well, it's green and has swirlies on it and flowers in the hair. So yeah. So yeah, I never changed that one back. I suppose I should put the Pride one up since it's Pride support.
Yeah, that'd make more sense. We're in Pride Month.
So we were talking about the evolution of swear words and such, and what you missed is Alex talking about how he was raised by a sailor, so it's just normal in his vernacular.
Lexicon.
Yep.
What you're saying is what he talks about is fucked up. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so
That's fucking normal.
I don't know. I think it was more entertaining and fun to watch Alex go through the contortions of trying to stay PG-13. I think that was entertainment. Oh yeah? Well, that's a funny idea you had going.
Yep. now you get the unhinged swearing experience.
Well, the real question comes: if we drop it, will there even be a change that we notice?
Probably not.
So,
I mean, so far I see like 62 Brents, and that's what I see. I mean, like, it's not like I'm seeing like a difference. And I mean, I'm glad to have Brent with us, though.
So
but
our observation.
I hate to say this, but I don't think Brent's going to have a problem with language. I mean,
no. Our observation has been that the change in language has been because of the the lifting of restrictions on language and television. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the inundation of media coming into play like YouTube and such. As I was mentioning how one of my kids seems to curse a lot more than the other two, and he's the one who watches most of the YouTube stuff. And I feel like you've mentioned a similar problem.
I have a similar problem with my child, too. And in general, I don't have a problem with bad words, other than, as we have discussed before, it takes all of the value out of it. I mean, if I say a bad word, since I don't do it normally, you guys all sit up and take notice. So if I say, well, shit has hit the fan, you guys are like, whoa, something bad's happened. Because normally I would say, well, this is crappy, or this is a bad thing, or you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't use language unless it was pretty serious. So if I say it, you're like, oh, you know. So I've been trying to, because that was the same thing
your mom
used to say, and that's how she used to do it too, was she would use language to illustrate that this
shit's got real,
really bad, right? You know, that's a shitty thing to do. Oh, I am so sorry, Mom. I don't know. I didn't know what I was thinking. You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to, don't do that. That's not appropriate, or something like that, where I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. But that's a shitty thing to do. Hurt her feelings. You made her mad. You upset her or something. It's a different thing than just a course correction on a child, as you would normally do, So change the levels of things. So I don't know. And so that's what I've been trying to get through to my kid, is the same thing, which is, if you use bad words all the time, then you can never illustrate a gradient. It's always super awful. Doesn't matter whether it was you just, tripped over a foot, or the house is on fire. You know, it's all going to be at level 12, and then finally it's like crying wolf.
Yeah, the nothing's at level 12.
Yeah, everybody just assumes that when you come in and go, the fucking house is on fire. You're like, oh, you're serious, you know? Like you get like a lag between that because you can't tell. It's all super horrible. So, because I mean, personally, I don't care. You know, I don't care that Alex cusses all the time. I really don't care that Alex cusses in front of my kid. It's not like my kid's never heard any of it. I need to get my kid to gradient that back. But I have a completely different mission. It has nothing to do with the words. You know? It has everything to do with value of the words.
Weirdly enough, when it bothers me is when other people's kids are around.
Yeah, because then you're worried that somebody's going to look at you weird about it.
Well, no, not just me. I just mean if I'm a third party, not even involved in what's happening.
When I've sworn around Kai, Troy has corrected me.
And it's weird, and I think it's a knee jerk reaction. Just happens. And it's really one of those things too. I just want my kids to know when it's appropriate and when it's not, because it's certainly there are moments where it's not appropriate. Looking at evolving language too, one of my pet peeves was when literally ceased being literally.
Oh my god.
It's I know it's
literally a stupid idea. Wait, what?
I literally died. Then why are you talking to me?
Right. I literally died in this crash. What?
And supposedly there's some argument that before literally meant literally. Before that, it was more ambiguous. So they're trying to, but I'm like, so it's just language evolves, and you get enough people complaining about what a word means, it gets changed.
Irregardless.
Oh my god.
Oh, there's a story I got around.
Language police geek tank. Here we go.
Go for it, guy.
Oh. Okay, so I was hanging out with this cute girl. And her dad decides to take us to Shakespeare up in Boulder. And so I'm trying to desperately not be stupid sounding. No, this is prior to wife. So I didn't want to sound stupid. So I said something to the effect of, well, irregardless of blah, 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 blah. And he snapped me on that one. And I felt really dumb, especially since the girl that I was dating at the time was remarkably well read and very intelligent. And so all I did was look really stupid to both the dad and the girlfriend.
Final date.
I was like, well, that wasn't what killed that relationship, but
didn't help.
Didn't help.
That's one of those things too, that if you never learn it, then you're doomed to repeat it. Like I believe our friend Jeff was one of those people who would use that term, and I had to say, hey, that's not how that's used. I may be getting it wrong. It may not have been Jeff, but some reason in my mind I feel like it was Jeff, because he was a high school kid at the time that we met him. And I remember that's like, once you put that in front of it, it double negatives it out.
Well, irregardless of that, literally, Jeff was a different kind of person. Okay, I'm working it, and I'm just not going anywhere with it. I'm just ending up in circles. So there you go.
Fucking lame guy.
Right.
Ableism.
But it was an interesting thing. What was the other one? Satiated. That was another word that same girlfriend. We're talking about eating and food, and she was like, "I am satiated. It's fine." And I was like,
"Oh no, guys! Like, I gotta check the Scrabble dictionary."
Yeah, I felt really. I mean, this was a long time ago. I was young, so I mean, but still, I was like,
"Yeah." So are we talking? Are we going to continue on with language?
I'm satisfied. I've had enough food. I'm okay. And it was like,
are we going to keep on? Are we going to go on a tangent of embarrassing ourselves in front of dates and or their parents?
If you have one, yeah.
I mean, I have plenty, but I mean, it's
I'm
not
coming
really
up
the
on
topic.
50 now. I'm like, all of this could be cautionary tales for everybody else
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Because I got, it's all good. I don't care. So, but yeah, that is. There was one other word though. She had said something and I didn't recognize it, and she's like, "Do you read it all?" And I was like,
And
"Yeah, I
that's
do."
that.
But that one was like that. When she'd said that, I was like, "No, I know that word. It's just that I've only read it. I've never heard it."
Bro, do
And
you
she's like,
even
"That's
read?
Can you even read?
Yeah, man.
Are you a cunning linguist?
Anyway, luckily she was joking and she did know I read because she had been perusing my book collection at some point in time and stealing my books to read.
So I can tell you an embarrassing date story by proxy, because my brother had told me this one before, where he was going to have a date with someone and had to cancel the date with them, and he was kind of in a rush because he had our niece pawned off on him, our sister's kid, and he was having to wash her to clean her up because she'd like thrown up on herself or something, and so he's kind of frantic, and then he's like, "I can't go out with you. I have to wash my niece." And he like hung up, and the girl thought he had said, "I have to wash my knees," and was just coming up with a really stupid, lame excuse to not go out with her. So it wasn't until months later, after the everything was gone and over with and couldn't possibly happen anymore, that she told him that she thought he had blown her off in that, and that's how he had learned what she thought what she thought she heard. That was a word salad. That was hard to get out of there.
I was
But,
saying she thought that
but
he
the
thought that
yeah,
she thought that he thought.
but it was the I have to wash my niece. If you have to say that, you need to make sure it's not doesn't come out as
Is
your
this the niece that we all know, or is this no? This isn't.
No, it's
daughter.
because that would be his daughter. This was our
Yeah,
sister's.
this is your niece.
Yeah,
Who
both of them are my niece.
right?
One of them is my brother's niece. The other one's my brother's daughter. So
That's the one that I know.
yeah,
I like her. She's cool.
yeah. The only I don't. I'm too cool, I guess. Actually, I just didn't go on a lot of dates, so that's I didn't have. I didn't have the shotgun effect where you try enough times, you're gonna have failures.
But what an interesting
got the
lull.
combination
Let's
right
do
off
our.
the bat. That's not that. I mean, that the odds have to say that somewhere along the line that occurs. So
Yep. Well, yeah. Save us with. Actually, I can do it because I have it right here. Boop. Yeah. Let's do our little thing here. Oh,
wait. Are you trying to find the button? Do I need to help you find the button?
it's not under brand, is it? It's under banners. It's under banners. That's why I couldn't find it. There we go.
Alright.
Geek, bam.
Okay, here we go. Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and
Your fucking mom. All right.
Sompensor. Okay. Brent needs to stop drinking. That's what I think needs to happen.
You're not his supervisor.
I'm not his real dad. Oh boy. All right. So
literally.
All right, literally. Like I said, you got to lay off on the sauce, man. Brent's been here long enough now that we're just like messing with him, just like usual. That's how you know your family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we've kind of petered out here.
Well, I thought you were going to tell more embarrassing stories or something.
I got a lot of them.
I mean, I remember that. I don't know, like I never had Chinese food until I my first girlfriend, like over at her place, and the parents were like, "Let's say a Chinese food." I'm like, question marks. I have no idea what to eat or how to eat this food.
Right.
So that was embarrassing. I also had another time where it's like I had never had a soup spoon. We didn't have soup spoons in my house. So we had a restaurant with another girlfriend and their parents. They sent out the spoon. I'm like, what is this? A special spoon for soup? They're like, yes. And I'm like, oh,
oh,
yay.
The thing is that Alex and I both are extroverts and more likely than not to kind of roll with it. So it's not as embarrassing for both of us because we were both like duly embarrassed, but rather than like I'm going to crawl under the seat, then it was like, well, guess I'm an idiot today, aren't I?
That happened. I've
Yeah.
got really big feet to fit inside my big mouth.
Right? Exactly. It's like, well, there you go. Which actually was probably why, even though those great, huge, massive errors in whatever that happened, it didn't actually destroy the relationship because all you and I did was just go, well, that was stupid, wasn't it? And everybody around the table, yes, it was. But hey, how charming you are. You know. And
All right.
we moved on. And that's how we moved on. So
what
Anyway.
other language changes have you noticed, Guy?
Language, you mean for like bad language or just
Anything.
in general?
The evolution of language.
I'm finding texting has caused an interesting collection of changes in language that I find fascinating. I mean, not just the fact that my phone is stuck saying thus instead of this, which I find very interesting and perplexing. I'm not exactly sure why. However, that's what it does. And it's becoming kind of a thing, I'm noticing. But I'm talking about, like, especially my kids' generation, say the text speak. They'll sit there and say, ha, 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 LOL. And you're like,
Raffle.
like, I don't think you're supposed to say those out loud. I actually did a Springs comic based solely on that because it was so funny that the kids these days are like really like what Brent is saying down there. OMG, IRL is so cray cray.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they will go,
slang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard you use the abbreviations for too long didn't read, TLDR. When
Yeah,
you're saying
I use
something.
that all the time.
You say that out loud.
I do. Absolutely. Well, I mean, part of this is that I teach teenagers. I pick up from the teenagers. They're saying it in the classroom with me, and they expect me to understand it. And so after a while, it just starts to permeate. And so it actually cracks them up because I'll sit up there and I'm like, I'm really old and like I come from the 80s, so I'm going to say awesome a lot. But I also hang out with you guys, which means I say YOLO and you do you boo and stuff like that. And it's like they totally like they crack up over it. I was having them in stitches today in class for that very reason.
What I found funny was knowing what WTF meant, and then for the first time ever seeing FTW. And I'm like, okay, so I have to use what I know of WTF. How does that work using that knowledge? If I replace the words with FTW,
fuck the win.
Fuck the win, or fuck the world.
Yes, fuck the what?
Or fuck the what?
Fuck the what?
So, so thank goodness for Google and being able to just plug in stuff and go find out what all this is.
I can't imagine how our parents managed to survive because we came up with weird stuff too.
Ignoring
right.
us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like we came up with all these weird things and they didn't have Google. So they just had to kind of take context clues and try desperately to parse.
Well, the stuff I remember in the 80s and that was the taking words and making them mean the opposite. So like bad means good or awesome. Like, man, those shoes are bad, but they're not bad. They're good. Or saying something sick.
Right.
Or something, or that something is the shit.
Singular.
Exactly.
Right. Or so, like we were like going like to the mall and like we totally like did this total thing like, you know.
It was a very California thing, I think.
Yeah. Sick. And well, there are a lot of things that were California things.
I've noticed the replacement for like these days is the entering a sentence, starting it with a "what I mean," or I'm trying to remember the exact phrasing of how they do that. Um, See, it's slipping my mind right now, but I'll know it when I hear it because people in interviews will lead with it, and it's an unnecessary thing to lead with. But I think what it is that it's replacing the uhs and the ums and the likes, and it's their brain trying to buy time to lead into what they want to say.
Right. Interestingly, there's that kind of stuff shows up in other languages too. Obviously, there's one of those that shows up in Japanese. They use sa, like and I ended up picking that up, and it was something the kids would say. They would say, sa ano sa ano sa, like that, and they're words, but they're like ano is over there sort of thing. So it's kind of like saying, well, and it was this thing, but it was kids that said this. So at some point in time, I was talking to somebody else and another adult, and we were talking in Japanese, and I had to think of the words. So my brain automatically did the sa, ano sa, and they started laughing, and I'm like, what? They're like, you sound like a junior hire. It was like, okay. It was actually funny how we pick those things up in language, but you'll even pick them up in a foreign language.
I looked it up. It's actually just the "I mean." Someone would start out a sentence with "I mean" and then continue their thing from there.
Right.
And it's an unnecessary transition. But
honto and hai. So honto means really, and hai of course means yes. That's normal Japanese. So you hai. It's like yes. I understand, sort of thing. Honto, they use that in a different sort of way. Like Okinawan would be kind of a way where you'd pick that up. Whereas, oh really, oh really. They use it almost exactly the way that it works in English. It's the ones that crack me up, because the kids would come up and say, "Ano sa," and I would go "sa" like that, and they would just stop, and they were like, "I don't know what to say about this," because it would stall them. So,
another language thing too that I find interesting when someone says "honestly," it's like, wait, does that mean everything before now was dishonest? Were you not telling me the truth up until this point?
I really like Troy, but honestly. Alex,
I gotta go.
Language cracks me up. I like language. I actually really like languages and how languages evolve. It's kind of funny because in Strange New Worlds, I'm identifying a lot with Uhura because she's loving languages. Of course, that's Uhura. It makes some sense, and I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that. I could totally do Uhura's job. I'd be fine there. Be like, yeah, I'm good. It's cool. My job is to talk to people. So, yeah, there you go. So I've petered out now again.
Mm-hmm. That's it for our show today. I mean, no.
Well, great. I was trying to look something up, and it looks like it's been totally censored.
Oh,
This image is no longer available. This image is no longer available. This image is
okay. You gotta stop doing that, man. You're just gonna get the FBI after you. No idea what he's looking up.
I was looking up crimes against language. See what other ones there was out there.
Oh, that's even funnier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Weird Al has got that song "Word Crimes."
What's it a parody of, or is it one of his originals?
I think it's an original.
I am not. I'm a duoglot, and that's it. Sadly. I speak literally 2 languages. I love languages, and I love the etymology of languages. For example, I've been starting to try to understand Korean, but I got all caught up in the way that they write Korean and got all carried away with that. And so I stopped actually learning how to speak it. And now I'm just all fascinated by how it's written. Same thing with Chinese and Japanese, who both use the same ideographic languages. So, yeah, my sister is a polyglot. That is definitely something. She speaks 7 languages. So, most certainly, she is extremely well spoken, including a number of dialects. When you speak a language enough that you can speak dialects, I think that's kind of cool, and that's where she is. Again, the thing I like, my sister outclasses me.
Womp womp.
Right? I'll stick to being an artist. It's safer, and she can't draw. And
Okay,
that's
so is she better at Star Trek
place.
than you are?
She's not better at Star Trek than I am.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. I guess you're right. I mean, if you count computer languages, not you, then I spoke a few of them for a while there. Navajo and sign language. Interesting. Navajo, I know, was used a lot by the code talkers because it was really difficult to break. Because it doesn't follow a lot of normal conventions in language. So it's hard to use any basis of a secondary or a tertiary language to try to support it. And of course, sadly, because the Navajo were reduced, like so many people, there was nobody. They couldn't just grab somebody who spoke Navajo off the street and, in Europe somewhere and use them to translate. But sign language, I've had a fascination with sign language too, although I don't speak it. And I guess you can't speak sign language. I guess that's sort of a pseudo word.
Just use it for colloquialism for communicate effectively with it.
Yes, exactly.
It's like Japanese, who they drink their medicine, because that just happens to be the verb you use for medicine. Doesn't matter whether you literally drank it or not.
It's interesting that they steer away from those. I know that Tara was saying that any Russian she used to know just totally went out the window when she started studying the Czech language, and it's something to do with them being similar enough that they kind of roll over top of each other, but not similar enough that they're interchangeable.
Right.
So
that's fascinating. I mean, these are all. It's interesting how the brain works.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a pattern problem in our brain, a patterning problem? Now I'm kind of thinking I want to go learn sign language. I'm like, challenge accepted. I've always had a fascination with Navajo, mostly because of the code talkers, but also because I have interactions with the native cultures a lot of times. So it'd be fascinating to know, like Lakota or Navajo or some of these languages, especially since they're hanging on by a thread, right? There's so few people who actually still have them.
I think if I was to tackle another language, which I'm nowhere at with my brain, it would be either Spanish or sign language, because those are the two that would be the most useful to me.
Right. Last week, there were teachers in Ohio experimenting with Klingon. I actually started taking Klingon with my Duolingo. I don't know if I would count that as a language, but I think it'd be funny to speak Klingon at conventions.
It's officially a language.
It's a language. It is. It's absolutely its own language.
That's the whole premise of that, the movie, of which name I can't think of, where there was an autistic person who got lost.
Please stand by.
And Patton Oswalt. And so
Patton Oswalt, who speaks to her in Klingon. And he's actually speaking honest to God Klingon.
Well, of course he is. He's Patton Oswalt.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they got Mike Orkrand to be on set to help them speak the actual language. So they actually but I mean, yes, it's Patton Oswalt, but I'm not 100% sure Patton Oswalt speaks Klingon natively. He might, but
I don't know if natively is the right term.
I meant natively as Patton
Fluently.
Oswalt as opposed to Officer blah blah
Mhm.
blah, the character he was playing. You know,
Not a lot of Klingons that you can practice with.
yeah. Well, like I said, you can pick it up in Duolingo, which I've done.
Of
I think
course,
it's actually kind of cool to look at it on my Duolingo, and I've got, you know, all these languages out there that I intend to learn someday, but I've got Klingon.
I was trying to convince my kids when they were younger that if they needed to curse in a different language.
Yep.
And that way, nobody would know, except if they happen to be someone that spoke the language you're cursing in. Or if it's a word that sounds too much like the actual word, like German for Scheiser, it's pretty easy to guess what that means. So,
Right.
or Fick.
Or it's so embedded in our culture, like merd, that you know what it means.
Merd.
You know. So Strange New Worlds has had now a lot of interesting interaction now between the Vulcan characters. So they are expanding out Vulcan. So I'm curious how long before we get Vulcan as a language that we can take on Duolingo, because that actually does kind of interest me as well.
I thought you said
Klingon
they
is
already had.
harsh, like it's supposed to be. Klingon is ridiculously harsh and not something you. I feel like it's fun, it's clever, but it's hard to do just a normal communication between two people, because no matter what, you sound like you're trying to kill each other, because that's the nature of the language. So picking up Vulcan would be kind of cool, because that actually does sound like a normal conversive language between two people. So it has a lot of guttural sounds, very similar to Hebrew and Hebraic languages, which makes sense. A lot of the culture has a good portion of it is Hebraic or Jewish in its backing.
As opposed to
It's
learning Ewok.
inspiration.
Well, it's because Leonard Nimoy started all of it, and all of the, a lot of the base pieces of it, they conversed with Leonard Nimoy, who pulled from his Jewish childhood parts to come in, including the Vulcan hand signal, which is actually a secret Jewish sign used between priests in the Jewish world. And there's Guy rolling it back to Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Yeah,
this would be one of those where Pepper would be taking a drink right now if we were on.
take a shot.
Take a shot.
Fine.
Heavy James Cameron.
Oh, on Avatar. I think so too. I think you're right. I do believe that James Cameron put out some kind of primer on Avatar. That's a good point. There, it left Star Trek.
Yeah, if you go to the Avatar wiki, it looks like there's some kind of alphabet there of some kind.
Right.
That was one of those movies that they should have just called it Space Elves versus Space Marines.
Dothraki. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I'm sure there's. I mean, we all know that the Elvish language is an actual language, was created and put together, and all of that stuff from J.R.R. Tolkien. And I have a feeling that probably was at least the first in this current era of geeky fiction to have done that.
Well, this may be apocryphal, but I don't think it is. That Tolkien is a linguist, and he made Elvish and said, all languages change and are rooted in the real world. So I need to make this fictional history that this language developed in. And there you go.
World building. It may be apocryphal. I don't know.
I remember.
I have a massive amount of respect for the amount of effort that Tolkien put into The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
The world building makes a relatively dry story actually fascinating.
Yeah. I remember checking out at least one record from the library of Tolkien reading Elvish poetry in Elvish. It was wild.
This is my light in my head going, this now exists. I must hear it.
Yeah.
Because that would be cool.
It was wild. I was like 10.
But cool.
He spent more than 2 years world building. I feel called out.
Uh-oh. He chooses you. He calls you out.
Totally
Well,
called me out.
It would have taken Tolkien longer if he would have only spent like an hour a week world building.
No. Hey, but my world is awesome. It's big enough that it'll be able to handle all kinds of cool things. So I intend to make a role-playing game out of it. I intend to make a card game out of it. I'm going to work this one.
This sounds like a private conversation between you and Brent.
Yep.
Always a private conversation. Have you met our show? I mean, legit. This is the way it goes.
Well, last week there were a few various topics thrown out, but none of them really like hit the mark for me. Talking about like our favorite B movies and such. So not knowing for sure what we're going to hit for next week, it's hard to say, what to prepare for.
Oh my gosh. It's on YouTube.
Spin the wheel of topics.
Yeah. That's what we need. We need to make a wheel of topics because we're coming up on our last 3 minutes here. So maybe that's what we'll do. We'll invent a wheel of topics and start off the next show with the wheel of topics. And when we exhaust it, we'll just spin it again.
Sure.
2 months on star charts alone. Oh, man.
I think Brent wants to leg wrestle you.
I know, right? Oh, man. So I have listened to the that cover of Bloody Tears so many times now. It's like always at the top of my list.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 ideas enter. Only one can leave. So, Alex, I just looked it up on YouTube. Sure as the world, there's Tolkien reading poems in here.
I'm sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know, I'm not saying you lied or anything like that. I'm saying, haha, that didn't take any time at all for me to find this, which I now must listen to.
Yeah. No, so, I lucked out. I don't even know how that tiny library that I had access to at that time had that.
Right.
And it was seriously on vinyl.
Right? That's even cooler. Well, it hit autoplay, and I heard just the beginning of this before I hit stop, because obviously we don't want to broadcast it. Mm-hmm. But I can hear it going. Yeah. So it sounds like this must have been taken straight off of vinyl, too.
Totally.
So, you can hear it chattering.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That's cool. So what are our ideas that we had? The 3 ideas that enter and only one can leave, as Donald said.
Nothing. He's just saying that.
Oh, well, you said
if you were listening,
thrown out,
and I said none of them stuck.
Oh, which means that you don't know any of them because they didn't stick.
No, like free favorite B movies. Stuff that didn't sound like great topics for me to. They didn't attract me. I don't know. Maybe B movies are your thing, and you really get into them. Low hanging stinger there.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll come up with a random wheel of topics, and we'll spin it next time.
Wheel of topics.
So yep. But that's our show.
I was to say, I feel like we've kind of come to an end here. Go look up Tolkien reading poems in Elvish, guys. It'd be cool. Sorry I was late. I'll figure this out someday. I'll get it squared away. I promise. Might take a couple of months or a couple of years.
You're going to be late for your
world build first.
You're going to be late for your next show now too.
I'm going to move to my next show.
Bye.
But until then, you know how this goes. I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And I've been Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.
Bye.